And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region on this Tuesday, August 20th, 2024. And if you'd like additional weather information on top of what I provide in this YouTube video, you can go to weather.gov. That is the National Weather Service's online presence. It'll bring you to a map of the continental U.S. with Hawaii and Alaska to the lower left, and then tabs for the territories. And you point and click anywhere on these maps, it'll pull up a very specific forecast with any relevant watches, warnings, or advisories for any location in the nation. And a quick check of the lower 48 on this Tuesday afternoon. We have excessive heat warnings and heat advisories for much of Texas. Triple-digit heat taxing the grid there, the electric grid, trying to keep the state cool. And up here in Montana, severe thunderstorm watch. We have red flag warnings for critical fire weather conditions, either scattered thunderstorms that could have lightning strikes that cause fires, or just dry conditions with breezy weather. And we have that also back into east central portions of Nevada. But here in Alaska, we have impacts coming from a former typhoon, Typhoon Ampel, which impacted Japan a number of days ago, is currently working its way across the western Bering Sea, and it's going to be a strong west coast storm. Now, this is not going to be as strong as Merbach a couple years ago, but it is a respectable late summer, early fall storm system that'll impact the west coast later tonight through Thursday, with high winds, high surf, some minor coastal flooding, and moderate to locally heavy rain. There are a number of advisories and warnings from the north side of Kuskokwim Bay around Kipnik all the way to Point Lay. And in the wake of this system for this weekend into the first half of next week to round out the month of August, we're looking at a cooler and wetter early fall pattern across much of the state. So definitely some changes on the way. Looking at Wales, up there at the Bering Strait, southward through Nome, high wind warning, coastal flood advisory, 46 degrees. Things will get going there tonight and especially Wednesday. Nome, there's a coastal flood advisory because we're expecting strong south to southwest winds, a lot of wave action with storm surge. So we expect at least minor coastal flooding with maybe the water levels 4 to 6 feet above the normal tide line. And then Shaktoolik on the east side of Norton Sound, also a coastal flood advisory. We're expecting on the east end of Norton Sound water levels to be 4 to 8 feet higher than the normal high tide line. And then going down along the lower Yukon coast, coastal flood advisories until you get south of Scammon Bay to Kipnik. Then there is a high surf advisory where the surf there could average 1 to 3 feet above normal, with temperatures as of this afternoon only in the upper 40s to near 50 degrees. So here are some of the max wind gusts in the storm track. We have a low that's going to cross near St. Lawrence Island up to the Bering Strait by Wednesday afternoon. Strongest winds in this orange shaded area. We're looking at gusts easily 50, 60 miles an hour, and some of these points or higher terrain on St. Lawrence Island could actually see wind gusts closer to 70 miles an hour. This is just the way the wind fetch is. So that's really going to bring some bigger waves here just off of Nome. But it's also going to pile up water into Norton Sound. And like I mentioned, the current forecast indicates for Norton Sound that water levels could average 4 to 8 feet above the normal tide line there. Also up along the Chukchi Sea coast, this goes all the way to Point Lay through Point Hope, Kivalina, down to Shishmaref. There is high surf advisory there because of the increased wind and wave action that'll take place. So this is Norton Sound. Nome is about here, Golovin over here, Shaktoolik, Stebbins. We find that these are the wind-driven waves, not the actual surge. The biggest waves are going to be there just off of Nome, where some of the waves, we're looking at waves, the surf on the order of, let's say, 12 to 16 feet, maybe as high as 18 feet. So it's going to be a significant wave action going on there. So there also is the potential for coastal and beach erosion. So a quick check about what's going on. This is a flood advisory until early Wednesday, or a flood watch for early Wednesday morning for areas around Bettles, and Alacaquette along the Koyukuk River. Water levels are high in the Koyukuk, but they will gradually be coming down before more rain moves in there, say, come Thursday. But for over here along the western coast, we have high surf advisories, Point Lay, Point Hope, Kivalina, Shishmaref. We also have high surf advisories for south of Scammon Bay down to Kipnik, including Nunavik Island. Again, in these areas, high surf could run 1 to as much as 3 feet above normal. And then for the areas from Wales down along all of Norton Sound and down through the lower Yukon Delta to Scammon Bay, there is a coastal flood advisory because we expect a storm surge that could cause the water levels to be 3 to 5 feet above the normal tide line here along the Yukon Delta, 4 to 8 feet here within Norton Sound, about 4 to 6 feet from Golovin to Nome, and 3 to 5 feet above the normal high tide line from Nome up to Wales. The area in red is a high wind warning. We're looking at winds gusting as high as 60 miles an hour along the coast. A few spots where you have some terrain effects there on St. Lawrence Island, or a couple of the points here could see gusts to 70. And the bulk of that will be coming here during the day Wednesday. So let's look at this storm. It clearly shows up. We have the remnants of just a weaker low in front that's pushing out across northwest Canada, back down into the lower Gulf, North Pacific. But this is the main weather maker, former typhoon Ample. This system has weakened since it impacted Japan, but it still has a lot of punch to it. It's not as strong as Merbach, but we've got to respect it because it's heading to the northeast. It's going to bring these high surf and some minor coastal flooding and some high winds. So now is the time you should be wrapping up preparations to protect property, move things off the beach if you can, so that you don't lose anything important to you, because this system is going to, as I said, it's respectable for a late summer, early fall storm system. Put it in motion, you can see just the wound up comma-shaped cloud with the occlusion going up into eastern Russia and the front pushing toward the west coast. Meanwhile, ridging has brought nice weather to south central. Anchorage area seeing sunshine drying out. The Panhandle will enjoy some better weather here too as that ridge slides eastward. But here we are, the remnants of Typhoon Ample. The low center has central pressure bottomed out, at least crossing into the Bering was near 960 millibars. It will be gradually rising as it tracks toward the Bering Strait by tomorrow afternoon, and then up north of Utqiagvik by the time we get into Thursday. We have this ridging that's brought clear skies to areas of southern Alaska and along the western Gulf. And as we get into tonight, we find that ridge kind of folding over to the east. This front pushing inland, the stronger winds coming in on Wednesday from early morning through the afternoon, early evening. Push of milder air comes up along the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island. That'll be pushing across the Kenai Peninsula for the day on Wednesday. There'll also be some rain moving across this area of south central as we go through Wednesday afternoon and evening. And that whole front and system pushing this way while we have the main low sitting back here near the Bering Strait tomorrow afternoon. And if that's not enough, there's a secondary impulse, not as strong, but it's going to quickly rotate into Norton Sound and the Seward Peninsula on Thursday with some additional rain and gusty winds. We're also going to see some heavier rainfall along the southwest slopes of the Brooks Range, especially around Ambler. And that area could pick up 1.5 to 3 inches of rainfall Wednesday and Thursday. And into Thursday, the initial front pushes way into northwest Canada, secondary weak low in the northern Gulf, and then here comes that secondary low that out of the Kamchatka area that's going to come push another round of gusty winds and precipitation in the west central areas of the state. So looking at what we have here for Wednesday morning, we have lows upper 40s there around Juneau, Petersburg, otherwise low near or just above 50. Could get down in the 30s, Copper River Basin with those clear skies. and can't rule out there could be some patchy fog in a few areas, especially with how moist the ground has been from recent rainfall. And then temperatures Wednesday afternoon could be back up around 70 here at Klawak and Craig, and even up around Juneau to Skagway, Haines. Back to the west, we have the front moving in with rain across the Kenai Peninsula, especially in the afternoon, including the Anchorage Bowl. And then temperatures Thursday morning, 40s for lows mainly there across south central, 40s, a few lower 50s such as Metlakatla and Sitka. And then temperatures on Thursday afternoon, we're looking at highs, lower 60s around Upper Cook Inlet there, especially anywhere from Kenai up to Talkeetna and on over toward the Copper River Basin. Still a 70-degree reading could be squeaked out there in the southern panhandle on Thursday. For the central and northern parts of the state, this push of the system, since it's coming in with southwest flow, it's actually going to bring moist and milder air across the interior as we go into Thursday. So temperatures are going to be above freezing with the exception of along the Elkan border, clear skies, or the eastern Brooks Range. The normal cold spots could have some frost freezing temperatures. But then Wednesday afternoon, lower 50s up here around Kotzebue Sound, Norton Sound, strong south winds going southwesterly and gale force with gusts to near storm force. And then for Thursday morning, again, temperatures across all of the central and northern mainland are going to be above freezing. And for Thursday afternoon, we expect temperatures generally in the 40s across the northwest quadrant of the state and the Seward Peninsula, with readings above 50 outside of the ridgeline here of the Alaska or of the Brooks Range. Temperatures in the 50s working their way up through the Yukon Valley. And then for the southwest interior tonight, temperatures steady to maybe even slowly rising to near 50. I think readings will be going up along the Alaska Peninsula. Temperatures Wednesday afternoon, we're looking at some 60s. This may not be quite warm enough. There's a pretty good push of milder air along and ahead of that front. And then for Thursday morning, readings generally in the 40s across the southwest interior, mid to upper 40s to near 50 down along the Alaska Peninsula, including Cold Bay down to Dutch Harbor. And then for Thursday afternoon, temperatures still around 60 out toward Kodiak Island up into the Kenai Peninsula, but generally 50s out here across much of the southwest, Dillingham, King Salmon 56, 50 at Imanuk. And looking at the temperature outlook as we go from August 26th to the 30th. So it's this coming weekend, especially Sunday into much of next week. Temperatures are going to average below normal, especially over the west side of the mainland, including the Alaska Peninsula, with temperatures maybe toward the very end of the month near normal, maybe a sliver above normal in the northeast mainland, and then back here across the panhandle. And of course, with a pattern like this, we're going to continue to see weather systems moving west to east, and so ahead of them we get a southerly flow that brings moisture into the south central mainland, centered on Cook Inlet, the Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound, the Talkeetna Mountains, Anchorage Bowl, up to about the Alaska Range. Stands to see precipitation generally average above normal for this period.